All right. Just wanted to know if you guys had fun yesterday. No, it was not cool. Apparently, Avram, you didn't have fun yesterday. So, well, I kind of have 10 minutes to kill right now. So, I don't know if I should start my talk or not right away. I guess we could start and then we'll take a longer break. So, I'm going to talk about Mer Plugins. This is a requested talk we got. We had this survey at the beginning before Merb Camp when we were still preparing. A lot of people wanted to know how do we write Mer Plugins. So, well, by now, hopefully everybody knows me. Let's talk about what you can do with Mer Plugins, and let's not write Mer Plugins, and let's see what you can do with Merb slices. So yesterday, Daniel was talking about Merb slices, how you can write your Merb slice, what you can do with it, all the cool stuff you have. But we didn't really go over why would you use Merb slices. And this is a very important concept because if you come from the Rails world, every time you wanted to do something, oh, I guess I have to change. So, I guess I get naked. I guess I have to wear it. All right. I guess I get under the desk.
Matt always says that Merb is sexy. I guess this is what he meant.
Come on, show it.
All right. So if we had Merb pants, I would also do that. But all right. So what was I talking about? Merb slices. Yes. Merb slices are awesome. They're sexy also. So I was saying, yeah, yesterday we talked about the Merb slices. We said they're awesome, which could do a lot of stuff. But if you come from the Rails world, you don't really have this concept. I mean, we had Rails engines, and they were pretty cool, but they were not supported inside by Rails core team, and they would break often, so not a lot of people went this way. But there is a very good thing you can do with Merb slices, and often you don't need to write plugins. You can just write a small piece of code that you're going to reuse. That's like the big advantage of using slices. But also, you're not limited to reusing the same code over and over. You can overwrite the code. And that's actually a typo, but it's okay. So slices really are small pieces. They're like mini apps you're going to reuse and reuse and overwrite. Often you don't need to write a plugin because the slice is just a part of your application that you want to reuse over and over. But slices let you reuse it and get a lot of flexibility over that. So slices also are awesomer than generated code. Often if you use, if you want to reuse some code, you might like think, well, let's write a generator and I'm going to generate that every time. The problem when you do that is every time you need to change your code, you need to modify it yourself. You cannot just regenerate it. So that's why we went for Merb slices and we said, well, Merb slices already exist in the gem. So you gain all the dependency solution, but when the gem author updates is slice, you can just update the slice and the gem on your own system and you get the update. If you overwrote something, it's not a big deal. So it's better to write slices, and it's really easy to write slices. So please write slices, don't write generators. Examples of slices you could use, we have login form, password reminder if you want to write a blog, forum, event registration, an admin interface, and that's something I think we would really love to have for the next version of Merb, something a bit like what Django has. TuneUp, actually the plugin they released yesterday to help you looking at what's going on in your app, is a slice, and that's the perfect example of what you want to do as a slice. So to conclude on Merb slices, the location, the time you want to use it is really when you want to target application content. So that's really the key. On the other hand, we still have the Mer Plugins. Now, Mer Plugins are not data mapper plugins. Once again, if you remember back in the time when we were using Rails, we were having plugins that would do different things for Rails. So you would use something like act as list or act as taggable or something like that. This kind of plugins really target the ORM. They don't really target the framework itself. So when you're going to write a plugin, you need to think about, am I working on the Merb core itself? Am I extending what Merb can do? Or am I working on what the ORM doesn't do for you? So really be careful when you think about that. Also, data mapper is part of what we call the stack, Merb stack. Merb stack is just a bundling of different gems we have together. The code for Merb didn't change for that. It's just we have a generator and we have a meta gem that gets all the different things and package them for you. If you don't like Merb stack, you can actually come up with your own stack. So plugins could target a different ORM. They're not Merb plugins. So think Mer Plugins, go with Merb core, and you only extend Merb core. Now you can also set dependencies and have a plugin that work with data mapper and stuff like that, but we can talk about that later on. So when do you use Mer Plugins? When you target extended the framework. So when you want to extend Merb itself. Don't think about content. Content would be Merb slices. Once again, Mer Plugins are different than Rails plugins. The big difference for third-party developers, and I wrote plugins for both frameworks, the first thing is that alias method chain, actually we don't see the end, but it's alias method chain is evil. Really do not use it. What we do is we provide you with hooks. If you should have hooks for anything you need. The first big hook you can use is Merb bootloader. Merb bootloader is this awesome piece of Merb core, and I don't want to go deep into the internals, but the way Merb is built and the way Merb starts has this nice chaining of events, and you can write your own bootloader. You can actually insert it inside the process, and there's a proper order where everything can load. So what we offer for you right away is something like that, Merb bootloader before app loads. And we have after app loads. And basically any step of the booting, you can insert your stuff before or after it without using alias method chain. If you actually look at the ini.rb on a newly generated Merb app, you will see that we give you this block. So if you need to set any type of configuration after or before your app loads, you can do that. But we have a lot of other bootloaders that you can hook to. The other thing that's very important is that we actually want to have an API. We started working on that. We're not 100% done with that. But this is how Merb internals are going to be divided. And we already have mainly that on core, and we're working on doing that on the plugins. So we have 3 levels of API levels. So you have the private API, the private methods. This one, you should never, ever touch them. This one, we might change them. So do not use them, please. The next level is public. This is what you want to call. If you are developing and you want to use any methods for Merb core, you need to use the public methods because this one are not going to break. We're going to make sure that they're going to stay like that for a long time. Now, usually public methods are related to private methods, and that's what we're going to change in the backend. The last item, the last level for the Merb API would be the plugin level or the overridable level. And these are methods that we let you use as plugin developers, but they're not going to be as... We might deprecate them earlier than the public methods, but we're going to let you know before that, and there will be some control. The public should not use the plugin API. This is really for you when you need to have a lower level approach, and you're going to stay on top of your plugins. So, to sum up this, Merb API should actually provide all the hooks you need. If it doesn't, it's a fail on our side. So if you need something, seriously contact us. Like we would add hooks for you. We had different people who came to us and said, well, we need to do that, and right now we don't have hooks, and the guys were using private methods. We're gonna add more public methods so you will be able to use them. And when we're going to upgrade something and people will switch to a new version, it won't break. Another thing as a plugin developer you might want to use is the namespace config hash we have for you. So here I wrote a plugin called Merb Awesome, and you can actually set that inside your plugin, and people can actually add more config inside there before or after uploads, and that will let you use some sort of settings or default settings that people can use and change, and that will be available to you in your plugin. The other thing that we make available to plugin developers are Reg Tasks. So you have this method that lets you load your own Merb task. So if you have Reg Tasks that you want the user to be able to use, you can just put that in your plugin, and it will load the task at boot time. The other thing about writing plugins is testing plugins. That's something we really care about. We want to have properly tested plugins. Yesterday, Yehuda had a great talk about how you should test your app, and that's very important to test the outputs and not just the process. And this is something we want you to do when you write Mer plugins. And this is something we're going to assist you doing if you don't know how to do. We're going to provide you many ways of doing it. We changed the way we were testing plugins in the past, and we're still porting some of the older plugins to the new system. But when you test a Mer plugin, please test through the full stack. And here's an example of how we do it. In your spec helper, you can just set some settings, and you have this Merb disable method that will just not require the init.rb file, and you're gonna start your environment. So every time you're gonna load your spec, you're actually gonna load a real app that in this case is in the folder called full stack. The reason why we do that is because we want to really make sure your plugin works with the version you're testing. This is a very important factor because if you start using mocks and people use different versions of Merb, it might actually break. You test my pass, but it might not be consistent. So test through the full stack. It's not much slower. Most of what you're going to do in plugins anyway can be tested easily through the stack. And also it will make a lot of sense. You're actually generating examples for people who want to use your plugin because they can just go to your full stack folder and look at a real app and see how it's being used. So you get kind of free documentation on top of that. A question that comes often about Mer plugins is, should I write plugins that support Data Mapper, SQL, and Activerecord? The answer is yes, of course, do it. But we don't have any rules. You don't have to. It's not that easy to do. We realize that. And especially if you write a plugin and you don't care about Data Mapper and SQL, well, we're not going to force you to get it to work with them. If you just want to target Activerecord, just target Activerecord. But what we would like to encourage you is to make sure that you have a clean API, so if somebody wants to help you and extend your plugin to support other type of ORMs, they would be able to do it without creating a brand new plugin. So you need to think about that. And as we were working with that with different people using different ORMs, we decided that it's probably better if in the future we're going to release a Merb ORM interface. So we're going to try to create an interface so as a developer developing a plugin for targeting a specific ORM, you should be able to use hooks that can be reused and reused, and that will come from Merb. So that's a goal for one of the next version of Merb before 2.0, hopefully. It should not be too hard, but as Laurie explained yesterday, when she wanted to use Merb helpers with SQL, it was not that easy. And she wanted to be able to use the error messages, and we didn't really think about her. Now, next time, I will really think about you, Laurie, and we're going to make sure that we provide you with a proper solution for stuff like that. Also, something else, don't reinvent the wheel. We use Xlib, which is a library that's being used by Data Mapper and Merb and other projects. And you have, in this library, a bunch of tools that we use over and over and that most projects end up using. So you don't need to come up with your own solution. You can have stuff like manipulation of object, pluralization, a lot of the stuff you need anyway in your plugin. We don't put that in Merb core. We have that in Xlib so other people can work on it and can optimize it. So you can expect to always have Xlib loaded because that's a dependency of Merb. So don't hesitate to look at the code and see what kind of cool stuff you can get from Xlib. Also, you can contribute to Xlib if you think there's something that we should really extract from the framework and it should be available in Xlib. The community is pretty open to add more awesomeness to Xlib. A small detail, but that's pretty important for us, is versioning. So I don't know if you realize that, but for instance with Rails, you're going to have a plugin and then you're going to upgrade to Rails 2.2 and you don't know if your plugin is going to work or not, and it's kind of scary. What we do recommend is that you hardcore the dependency version. So if you target a specific version and you're not going to be on top of your app and every release make sure that it works, please do hardcore the dependency so people will know that they need a specific version and that with this version you guarantee that it works. Now, if you're going to work on your plugin and try to make sure it's going to stay available, use something like the second example where you say, okay, my plugin works with Mer 1.0 all the way to 2.0 because we're not going to change the plugin API or something like that. So you have still some flexibility, but try to think about the end users. Like they don't know what you've been working on. They don't know that it's not working on Edge. Maybe you're not even working on the plugin anymore. Don't let them, have a hard time trying to understand if it's compatible or not. If you want more examples, actually half of Merb is Mer Plugins. I mean, Merb core is one part, and that's the core of Merb, obviously. But then you have Mer More and Mer Plugins, and they're just a bunch of plugins. So we spend most of our time writing plugins. So you can also look at what we do and how we do it. And if you think we actually don't do it right, come and talk to us. If you struggle with your plugins, well, it's easy. Come and talk with us. Once again, we're here to help you. We want awesome plugins. We really want to have the best plugins ever. We also want you to test them properly. So if you have problems and you don't know how to do it, talk with us. We have a mailing list. We're on RSC. We're really open to any type of recommendation if you have any questions. The wiki is going to be here also to help you. And we need your help for that. We need people to come in and add more content. If you're a plugin developer and you don't understand how things work, and we tell you how to do it, go ahead and add it to the wiki so other people can reuse the information. What else? I think that's about it for Mer Plugins, so thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Hey, I just wanted to reiterate the point you made about small or equal to 2.0. Basically, if you use the public and plugin APIs only in your plugin, you're pretty good to say small or equal to 2.0. Basically, if you do crazy things, which you really, really shouldn't do, if you decide that you're going to use a private API, and again, you really, really shouldn't do this, then you might have to hardcode in a version. So basically, as long as you follow the rules, you should be pretty good to say, I'm releasing this plugin and it works everywhere up until 2.0.
Do we have any plugin developers in the room? Can I see more or less? So we have a few people. And who's yes, Laurie, I know. Any of you are not writing plugins are interested in actually writing plugins? Do you have a few people? Cool. Well, can you? Yes, slice. When I say plugins, Merb slices and Merb plugins. Are people more interested in writing slices or plugins right now? Can you just show me plugins? Okay, so we have a few people. And slices? All right, so slices win. I guess we don't need plugins anymore, right? So yeah, so that's actually very good for us. We're going to spend more time writing more documentation about Merb slices because it looks like a lot of you want to do that. And I'm really excited because that's a feature we really want to push. So pretty good. Any questions? A question here?
What kind of plugins are you looking for?
What kind of plugins I'm looking for? Well, right now, I would love to have Thinking Sphinx to actually work with Data Mapper. Yesterday I said he was working, and I talked with the author, and he was saying, well, not really right now. So he's working on it, but that's something I would personally need. The thing is, I'm not the only one using Merb, and different people have different needs. Right now, most of what I need is available with Merb, so I'm fine. Will paginate works, like there's a branch of will paginate that works kind of with Merb, but not fully yet. and that's something I want to personally be involved with. We have a wrapper around it that works, but it's not the best way.
I have an alternative pagination plugin.
So you have an alternative pagination plugin. So I guess we're gonna have to. It does work. Is it released?
Yeah.
Does it work with Data Mapper and Activerecord and SQL?
And SQL.
And SQL. I guess we have to look into that. Is it on GitHub?
Yeah, it's actually split into 2 pieces.
So it's split. Can we have a mic so people that actually watch the feed can actually hear Laurie? They do need to hear Laurie. Pagination is something that people always ask, and we do have a solution, but it's not the cleanest solution ever right now. So
Yeah, it's actually split into 2 pieces. So you have Merb paginate or something like that is the name of the Merb side, and it doesn't have any ties to ORMs.
Right.
And then you have DM paginated, and that's like an is paginated type thing for Data Mapper.
Right.
And then SQL has the pagination built into it, and that is supported with my Merb plugin.
Your Mer
So.
plugin.
Both DM and SQL work with the Mer plugin.
What about Activerecord?
Activerecord I haven't touched, but it would be very, very easy to add that support. It's basically each of these bits are their own separate entities,
Yeah.
so they're designed to be kind of independent of each other,
Right.
but still, integrate.
Yeah. Another plugin I'm working on, and I could use some help, is to add some sort of internationalization to plugins and to have like proper hooks for that, so people can reuse the local and can do a lot of stuff like that. So I started this work, but I'm not done yet. That's one plugin we probably need to have for the next release. So. Any other questions?
Are there any plans for a centralized repository for slices?
That's a good question. So the way it works right now is what we have in Merb Core and Merb More and More plugins are stuff we actually do support. So if we do, as a core team, support slices, they're going to be there. Otherwise, I think what we're going to end up doing is just documenting them on the wiki so people can easily find them. We cannot just have all of them in our repo because that would mean we support them. Yehuda, can we have Ryan? Can we have a mic to Yehuda? I think he wants to comment.
We also have something that not everybody has in Ruby, which is Ruby gems. So probably a good solution here is to establish some kind of naming convention like Merb-slice- whatever. And then all you have to do is ask Ruby gems to list you all the Merb-slices. I think there's a lot of leverage we can get out of that, out of the fact that we have Ruby gems. And yeah, I'm not really sure. A lot of other people ask for repositories, like jQuery community wants a repository of plugins, and there's no real way of getting it, so you need the file somewhere. But I don't know, we have a way of getting the files to you. The real issue is to have a list somewhere, and I think we should start by having everyone name their slices Merb slice, whatever.
That reminds me, I really want to make sure that people don't get confused about Merb stack. I saw a lot of message on Twitter and other places saying, well, okay, Merb is getting opinionated. No, it's not the case. We're just offering a package for you. And we were talking yesterday with Laurie, and if you guys, if anybody wants to come with its own package and say, okay, this is, I don't know, Yellow Pages, Merb stack, whatever, and they want to use SQL and Merb, and you want to have this specific plugin, that's fine. The way we do it is very fine. You were talking about Ruby Forge and Ruby gems. We just create meta gems. A meta gem is just an empty gem that has different dependencies. So you can say, in my Laurie stack, I want to have Merb SQL and Merb Core, and I like this plugin, so it should be like that. And you can release your gem, which basically is just a package. So really, you should look into doing that. And if you don't like the Merb stack and you want your own stack, go ahead, go for it. At the core, as the core team, we're going to support every single element on top of the stack. It's just the stack is something we fully guarantee because we actually use it. So, any other questions? All right, so we're going to take a small break because I think people need coffee, at least I do. And then we come back here in 10 minutes. think that's about right.